There are things that I'm doing with skill within our operations that still baffle me. And these skills are part of our SOPs and need to be. One of the things that we do with our clients is we help them tell their brand story, their why they got into business. On our very first call, I go over and I interview them and I ask them questions, tell me your story, and I just get them to just flush out everything, what makes them different, what their mission is, these types of things. I don't even need to paste a transcription anymore because I have Claude connected to Fathom. So I just say, hey, pull the transcription from this call, and then I do the skill/why video, and then it will give me the full outline for the video for when we actually do the recording.
You're listening to Home Care Hindsight, the podcast where we talk with home care leaders about the big mistakes they've made and the even bigger lessons they've learned along the way. I'm David Knack, head of sales here at Zengage, and I've built a career on the idea that we learn a whole lot more from our mistakes than from our successes, which is great because I've made a lot of mistakes. I've gotten to know some of the leaders in this industry who've built amazing businesses and are super well respected. So I thought it'd be fun, instead of asking them about the great things they've accomplished, to have them tell the story of one of the biggest mistakes that they've made and how that mistake changed their thinking and the way they run their business. Welcome back to another episode of Home Care Hindsight. Full disclosure, we already recorded this episode and we got so carried away we forgot to do the intro. I am joined today by Nick Bonitatibus. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. I know that people are going to get a ton of value out of our conversation, and I hope that they forgive us for our antics and our laughter and joy, and find our enjoyment just as enjoyable that we had recording this as they do listening or watching.
Yes, it's not often that I get to say confidently that you're really going to enjoy this episode because it's going to be good. Normally, I hit this intro at the top before we record anything, and I'm like, could be bad. Almost certainly will be bad. Could be. Who knows? But it was a good one. Nick, for people who don't know you, how would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name's Nick Bonitatibus, and David nailed the pronunciation of my last name. So shout out to David because it's a mouthful. I get it. Basically, what we do at Digital Champions is help home care agencies to grow their online presence so that you can increase sales, generate more referrals, and hire top caregivers using the power of video marketing. So that's what the business does. But about me is that I love to teach and I love to share, and I'm a speaker. I've spoken all over the country. And so jumping on a podcast like this and just being able to share insights and things that I know and I've learned is one of my all-time favorite things to do. And so super grateful to be here and to have this opportunity to share.
Well, Nick, you are a super humble guy and a lifelong learner, and you're always like, I learn stuff every time we talk. And so excited for people to hear the show. We'll take it away from there. And you're not going to get weird about the fact that we're currently recording. How have you been, my friend?
Dude, amazing.
Good.
You'd appreciate this. I spent the last week with my nieces and my nephew, and so just like that quality kid time, and it was so fun. Like being very present, just like being with them, laughing, and like my only goal, and I imagine you probably do this pretty consistently, is like, how can I make them laugh?
Oh, for sure, dude. I like making adult people laugh, but making like little bitty people laugh is, I find myself doing this. This is an insane thing, right? I remember being like maybe 2 years ago, I'd be on a plane and I'd see a baby and I'd be like, oh, baby, it's going to cry and stuff. And now I see a baby and I'm like, I'm going to make that baby laugh. And then the baby's looking over at me and I'm playing peekaboo and acting all crazy. And I just know it is stressful to travel with a baby. It can be stressful to do lots of stuff with a baby because they're not real good at lots of stuff. And it's nice to be able to like pay it forward a little bit because people have played peekaboo with my baby when we've been on a plane, and I'm like white knuckling the armrests. Like I sure hope. Okay, I got a PSA. I think we're just fully in the episode now. I have a PSA for airlines out there, which is don't put a freaking tablet on the back of your TV screen, because I'm not trying to like zonk my child and they just want to touch it. As I remember the first time we flew with Joni, she's 14 months old, and my God, it was like there's 3 tablets and she's like I'm just trying to prevent her from elbowing my next seat neighbor in the face. And she's like
right, because you can
reaching
turn
over.
yours off, but you can't turn your neighbor's off.
Yeah, well, the problem is you can turn the display off, but as soon as you touch the display, it turns back on. So American Airlines needs to get their crap together.
Dude, and kids are crazy with just the phones. Like seeing, again, this is 4 kids under 5, and the way that they are around phones, especially the real little ones, like
Yeah.
the 6 to 18-month old,
Yeah.
like, geez, it's crazy.
Yeah.
She's like, she doesn't like me to pick her up, right?
Yeah.
But I'm sitting in front of the laptop. Guess what? She's like, up,
Yeah.
up.
Up,
Like,
up
you
is
don't even like
exactly
me
right.
that much, but you would rather me pick you up so that you can look at the screen.
We love a little screen. We watch some television. I've come across this guy. He's like a pediatric neurologist, and he does tier rankings of his favorite children's shows. And our favorite 2 are Bluey and Sesame Street, and both of those were in the S tier, which for those of you who don't know tier rankings means the best.
Interesting. I didn't know that was the tier rankings, because I know, Miss Rachel. She's is she
He's
in
got
the
her
S
in B
ranking?
tier. No, he's got her in B tier. He says it's
Interesting.
repetitive and can become a little addicting, which I've seen some videos of children who are just like locked in on Miss Rachel, to the extent that this isn't a Miss Rachel hate podcast, though. She seems like a nice person.
Yeah, she does seem nice. Yeah, and what's the other guy? Blippy,
Blippy seems insane. This is not for the podcast's consumption. Do you know the backstory on Blippy?
No.
So he's like a kids YouTube guy, and kids YouTube is like a whole other world. We watch stuff that they put on the television that like a studio approved. But Blippy was just trying to be just like a Mr. Beast kind of YouTuber, like just a generic. And he had a friend like take a shit on him was some of his content. So I don't know how much like childhood development work he's done. I think he's just like super fast paced and gives everybody ADHD, which I already got plenty of ADHD. I don't need any more ADHD.
It's, taking doses of that is not ideal.
Not ideal. All right. I think
Yeah.
one of the big unlocks for people lately that I've talked to is some of the like new design capability. It's pretty dope. Like ChatGPT images too rocks. Have you messed with Claude Design?
I was telling you about it, but I have still not gone down that rabbit hole yet.
Yeah. But I think like
Do you
some
find
of
it better? Is it better than like what are you designing?
Claude Design will like let you do like one-sheeters and stuff.
And it's just good. It doesn't suck anymore.
It doesn't suck anymore. You can you can teach it your like brand book and stuff. So you can give it like your fonts and all that. And you can give it like your colors, and it'll adhere to your design principles. And then once it makes something, one of the things that was always annoying to me about some of the other design tools was you couldn't touch it. Like you could only like chat to it and be like, please, I beg of you. I remember trying to like fake a DocuSign one time for like some personal stuff. And I was like, please put the signature. And I would describe exactly where on the page. And I was like, I put the signature right there. And it was like in the middle of like a paragraph in page 1 instead. And I was like, I'm begging you, please. And now anyways, Claude Design, like you can draw with it, right? So you can mark up the design it's made. Cause I was having it like do like a clock for a thing. And for some reason it put like the time elapsed. I wanted to be like, it takes from 10 minutes to 30 minutes to do this thing. And it like put like a weird thing from like 0 to 10 minutes. And I was like, I don't want that. And so I like just drew around the thing that I wanted to move, and I told it where I wanted to move it. And then I typed in like one sentence. I was like, move this thing there instead. And it did it exactly.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's kind of similar. So I don't know if you have done much on Canva, but Canva just launched some really cool, awesome things. And one of the things is they have a layers feature.
A layers feature.
Yeah. So basically, you go into Canva, you can take an AI generated image or any photo, really, or a flyer, and just do layers. And it will basically like individualize each layer so that you can then just like remove something and take it out or slightly adjust it, because it just kind of separates everything that's in the image.
That's pretty cool. So yeah, I think we could riff on some design stuff. I think that's good. Where else are you seeing AI make a meaningful difference in your day to day?
So this is something like I have a whole kind of like plan of like content that I'm working on to share about AI. And there's a few key elements, and I think some of it depends on where you're at, right, in the business. So what I find is a lot of people just like aren't even using AI or don't understand it to the degree. So like the thing I've been harping on is, and I remember I used to talk to Chris from Swift Ops about this,
Yep.
and as well as one of my coaches, is that automation doesn't mean anything without systems. And what I'm finding when it comes to AI, it's the exact same thing. Like, you need to build systems for your entire life so that AI can then learn and do it for you in the future.
Yep.
So, like, if you're not doing systems, like, AI is not going to be this magical thing. And so, like, everyone needs to get really good at building systems and SOPs for every area of their business, every area of their life.
Yep.
Like, I created an SOP basically, or skill for going to the airport.
Tell me what's on your going to the airport skill.
Yeah, so
I'm locked in. Come on.
Yeah. So I just say airport or travel into my Claude. It will go into my Gmail account, look for my upcoming flight that I have.
Yeah.
It will analyze when the flight is, and then based on, I have to tell Claude if I'm traveling with a checked bag or not, and then it will tell me what time I should get to the airport based on how busy the traffic is, knowing that I also have TSA pre-check and clear. And then it will also then tell me what the lounges that are available at that airport, where they're located based on what I have access to.
What's your favorite lounge?
I mean, the Centurium Lounge I have access to, and
Nice.
the Denver one is super nice, but it's always really crowded.
Sure.
So like a lot of times you can't even get into that one.
Yeah.
The Dallas one is pretty nice too.
Yeah.
Centurion Lounge. There's one in San Diego. It's not a Centurion Lounge, and it's kind of beat. But I'm trying to think if there was one in Vegas that I heard is amazing, and I got all twisted around. I thought my gate was D,
Yeah.
and so I got all the way to D, only to realize my gate was A. But I didn't go to the lounge in A because I thought my gate was in D, and I didn't
Sure.
want. And the lounge was in A, and I was like, I could have been hanging out in the lounge this whole time instead of walking through this massive Las Vegas airport.
It is a big airport, but I like that as kind of like a microcosm of like how to use AI. It's like, what's the value add of Nick having to think about the airport? Like you thought about the airport one time and you were like, I don't want to do this anymore, and created a system that would tell you when to go, where to go, what to do when you're there, and now you just have somebody tell you what to do at the airport instead of you having to like kind of reinvent the wheel every time. And it's not like you're not like, the opportunity cost of thinking about the airport's not great. It's not like a big thing, but it makes your life like 15% better when you travel, and you're able to save that mental bandwidth for other stuff.
Yeah, and part of it was an experiment because I was just in the airport and I'm like, oh, I just spent all this time talking to Claude about different airports and when I should get there and what lounges are available. I'm like, let me just turn this into a skill. So it was just what started as just a chat turned into, hey, let's make a skill out of this.
Can you explain the difference between like just like a chat or like updating the memory and a skill?
What?
Well, and let's back up. Let me tell you why I love a skill. I am so tired of AI forgetting stuff about me and me having to be like, no. When you write emails for me, don't write it like you've been trained on from the entire internet where everybody sucks at writing emails and they're bad and they're too long and they have all of these like unnecessary, like flowery languages. I know how I read email. I read email that is 2 sentences long. And if it's longer than that, I ain't gonna read that email. And so I would have to like keep reminding AI, and this was back when I was using ChatGPT, which I no longer use, except for very specific use cases, and moved over to Claude. But when Claude launched Skills, which by the time this episode comes out, Nick, Skills could just be like something you don't have to do anymore because it works now. But for at least today, May 21st, 2026, skills are useful. And basically the reason that a skill exists in my world is I got so tired of like having to repeatedly coach Claude on the output that I was looking for. And skills were a really helpful way to tell it one time exactly what I was looking for and to get that output every time.
Yeah, and that's what I've found. So when I think about a skill, it's like a process of like how you think about something, do this, do that, do this, then that, review this, what that. The memory is like, hey, this is the agency that, these are the clients that I serve. This is my branding. This is some things about me. Versus like there are things that I'm doing with skill within our operations that still baffle me. And like it's becoming like these skills are part of our SOPs and need to be. And to be able to, so just to give an example, one of the things that we do with our clients is we help them tell their brand story, their why
Yep.
they got into business.
Yep.
So on our very first call, I go over and I interview them and I ask them questions, tell me your story. And I just, get them to just flush out everything, what makes them different, what their mission is, these types of things. So then what I do is I go and I put that transcription into a tool that then, or the skill with the transcription. Actually, I don't even need to paste a transcription anymore because I have Claude connected to Fathom. So I just say, hey, pull the transcription from this call.
Yep.
And then I do the skill /Y video. And then it will give me the full outline for the video for when we actually do the recording. And then in addition to that, what was originally created as two skills turns into one skill. So and then it will then also create a social media post. So even though we're making the video, what
Yep.
I do is then I create this kind of, I call it my introduction post. And so it will actually use the content from that video to then create the introduction post. And so then I do that with the clients. So after we record the video, I'm like, all right, before we get that video even done, here's an intro post that we're going to share that's not a video that I know works really well. And so like literally this skill just takes this one call transcripts,
Yep.
creates a total outline for the video plus a social media post all in basically seconds.
And I think like what I really like about the way you're thinking about that is there's a piece of that process that only you can do for now. Maybe AI can do it one day. But like today, you've got to show up and be really present on the call with your person to really like give them the confidence because people are scared of being on the recording and on the camera and stuff. Like it is like the first couple of times I did it, I remember being like, I hate my voice. I hate the way I sound. I look stupid. And all of that's still true, of course, but like you get over it. But like the thing that you're doing is like holding people by the hand and guiding them through something that feels really scary. It's not actually that big a deal. It's like, does it matter if you write the LinkedIn post? Does it matter if you like work out the outline for the video? Does it matter if you edit the video? Like all of that stuff, you need to like inject your taste into the thing one time. But if you're not the one like doing the exact work each time it has to come out, like you're designing the assembly line, but you're not the one having to like, put QA stamps on something at the end of the line or whatever.
Yeah, and I should note that it took time to do it, to get the export that I wanted.
Yep.
And I had to keep like clarifying and be like, no, that's too much, or this, and oh wait, that sounds too AI. I want it to feel like it's coming from them, like in their own words. So like the bullets in the outline sound like it's them. So like there was all these little nuances and understanding like what the project guideline is, what the goal of the video is, and giving it all that to adequately develop this skill. And sometimes when I talk to people about skills, they're like, that just sounds like a lot of work. And I'm like, I want to rip their head off because it's like, of course it is in the beginning, but you're doing it one time, you put the work in, and then you never have to do it again.
You know the meme where it's like the two guys and they're both like banging ahead with the pickaxes and one of them turns around dejectedly right as he's about to get to the diamonds?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are that guy. But there's also the similar meme that you've probably seen where the guy's like going crazy with the pickaxe and there's nothing on the other side. And I think
no, I haven't seen that.
I think it's like I need to start this is a video podcast. I need to start like putting memes up on the screen. Maybe we can do that in post. Here, let me go find it real quick. I think a lot of times people are that second meme with the thing where they're like, am I just forging ahead blindly into this like AI hype, and I'm gonna get to the end of this like couple hours of work, and it's gonna have been for nothing? And the thing, and look, I've been there. I've used a lot of AI tools in ways that did not work for me, and have always kind of been like, I think maybe some of this is just hype, and like we don't like people really kind of don't know what is actually possible and what they can expect on a repeatable process. But some of the like technology developments that are happening right now are 100% like you're going to find diamonds if you keep pushing through that one time, and it's going to save you so much more time and energy and headache on the back end of the thing.
Yeah, I think it's important to note that the process of it not working is the learning process.
For sure.
And I think people are trying to avoid the learning process. It becomes a, oh my gosh, this is like one more tool or one more thing I have to learn, and it just feels like it's some other software. And to me, it's just not. It's not just some other software that you need to learn. And once you understand kind of some of the fundamentals, then you understand how to operate it, and then it becomes, easier, and then you start being able to learn and do more and do more. And when you hear examples of how someone else is using it, then you go, wait, I can do that too. Like I've been doing some really cool stuff. I don't know if you want to go down this, like in how my day is set up every single day using AI.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go down that rabbit hole.
Okay. So I set up a process where every single day I get um a document, I guess you could call it. I use Notion. So this is a little
Sure.
side tangent. I
Notion
love
rocks.
Notion, and I
Yep.
use Notion as my memory bank instead of using Claude's memory bank.
Yep.
And it works so much more efficiently because I can access the things that I'm creating or using a lot more easily, or pull from that. Like, hey, go pull this from this. I know this is in here. And so I have this put into Notion where I just go to today's date, and it happens every single day. So in the morning when I wake up, it's there, and I click on the day, and it gives me a quick little overview of what my schedule looks like, who I'm talking to, what time I'm talking to them. And then it gives me a more detailed breakdown. So if I have client calls, it will tell me what we talked about on our last call. What were some of their action items? What were my action items that I needed to potentially do? It will flag anything that if they are off track, which is basically like I have a system built out in my CRM that tells me if it's off track or not. So then it will notify me on that. So that's super cool. Now, the part that I think is even cooler is actually when I have a consultation. And so when I go through and I have a consultation, it will go in and research the person that I have the call
Yep.
with. And so it will give me their website, which often is just submitted through the form anyway, but it will comb the internet for everything. It'll pull up, like here's some information from them on a place for mom. Here's, their LinkedIn profile.
They
Here's
were
their
featured in like
background.
they're featured in like a local best of home care, like the Austin Sun put on or whatever.
Yeah, and based on their online footprint will be how good the information is. So those that have a better online footprint have more information like, hey, here was their background before they did home care. They were doing this, this, and this. And, one of the examples that I love sharing is I jumped on a call and she was why am I drawing a blank on the name? What is someone that helps with pregnancy? A doctor that helps with pregnancies?
Oh, like a OBGYN.
OBGYN. And so on the call or in the context of the note as talking points, it said, this person is an OBGYN, which is absolute gold for creating video content. So it's literally giving me the tools that also showcase based on what I'm selling on the call to then like reference, utilize, leverage. And so like you just can't, I mean, that's like one thing. This is like one small thing that AI is doing for me every single day. And imagine it being able to do that for hundreds of different things in your business.
Are you using like the Claude Cowork functionality?
Yeah.
I did a pretty cool project today. I need to update my lead routing on my website. We've got a couple of different products that we sell. I've got a couple of different team members, and depending on some details about the business, like their EMR that they use and how big they are, and whatever. We can route those leads to the right salesperson and make sure that they're talking to the right person the first time, and that I'm really kind of maximizing the output from each member of my team. And it's like, like some like type form. Basically what I need to do is I need to take a form fill, which is I use type form. It's like pretty, easy to use. It's pretty user friendly. And I need to put that on my website. And then I need to have different calendar links that stick out the bottom so that they're booking on the right person's calendar. And so I talked this through, which was helpful, right? And I was like, if it's between this number and this number of billable hours, then this. And if it's, this technology, then that. And if it's this product and not this product, then this. And, it's getting them to a couple of different places. And I had it like draw out in like a flowchart diagram for me, which was really helpful. And then I was like, hey, before we build this, run me through a couple of scenarios. And I just like, provided a couple of things. And I was like, here's variables. And it got one wrong because it got confused. And I was like, oh, here's how that one works instead. And the rest of it was exactly right. And so I was like, okay, cool. Now go build that in Typeform. And it literally went into Typeform. I'm almost done with it. All I need to do is create the calendar links and have those go out the bottom. But instead of me having to go in and like click around in Typeform, I was just able to tell Claude, hey, based on what we've talked about, and I got to go QA it right after it gets done and maybe make some tweaks and changes. But I expect that greater than 90% accuracy, I'm going to end up on the right calendar link at the end of all of the form fills that I do when I test that this afternoon.
Amazing. Yeah, I did something similar, not as complex, but my brother works for a company that helps with like embroideries, t-shirts and stuff.
Yeah, sure.
And he was mentioning just like some issues that he has around the inquiry process and having to do a lot of back and forth via email to get more information. I'm like, dude, you just need a better inquiry form. And so I'm in the car driving with him to his house. And I put on my phone, I started recording the conversation. And then when I got back, I just took that transcription, put it into Claude, built out the questions that he felt was necessary to put into this form. And then I had it build out a Google form for it. And then it was like basically done. I was like, all right, now use this Google form. When someone inquires about services, just send them this link. And I was like, you can even put it in an autoresponder in your email signature, like put it in your email signature, like, hey, want to reorder, use this form. And so it's like every time, it just makes it so much easier. Like even when the form was like 25 questions, he's like, oh, that might be long. I'm like, no, it's not. People don't want to go back and forth via email. If they feel like they can just go in this form and fill this out, and the process becomes so much easier for them to fill this out, and I did a lot of check boxes. So it's just like click here, not just like filling in 25 questions. So it literally only takes 3 minutes to fill out. And this is just, again, one of those things of recording everything, because once you record stuff, then you can use that information to create and build things.
Man, my brain now exists in the cloud. And what's really nice is once you have like these SOPs that you run, you can just kind of like trust yourself to do it. Like if you execute on it every time, it doesn't matter if you like think about the thing between point A and point B. Like, if you get consistent enough in your execution and you've got the right systems in place, like I had somebody and I was like, I think I was supposed to send them like a couple of like references to talk to. And I was like, I sure hope I did that. And I looked because I book a meeting from a meeting, mutual friend of the show, Steve the Hurricane, book a meeting from a meeting. I had another calendar appointment on the books and I checked and I had sent the thing because the end of every day I have all of my transcripts get pulled in and I pull like any things that I committed to and I execute on those at the end of the day so that most days, sometimes I'm not super consistent, but that just helps me to like, I don't have to take notes frantically. I don't have to look for where I put the pad that I wrote that one thing down on. I still write it if it's like I need to highlight for my own brain that this is really important. But like all of the little details of like how many people are on their team in their office, how many hours a week, how much have they grown, what are their metrics around like shift rebooking rate and those kinds of things? Like, what's their EVV compliance if they're in the Medicaid world? All of that stuff allows me to be present in the conversation instead of writing down like they have 7 people. That's not value added. That doesn't give me anything long term. I need the system to know that and to be able to tell me later.
Yeah, I used to take a lot more notes, and there was a part of like the I think just not trusting AI in the beginning, but now it's just been so unbelievably reliable that, I may take some notes, but as long as I know that it joined the call, like I haven't had any issues of it not picking it up. One thing I do want to talk about, if you're game to shift gears, because I'm curious to hear your insights here.
Okay.
I had a client and I was on a call with them, and we were talking about caregiver matching.
Oh, sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so they said to me, like, Nick, no one can do it like I can. Like, AI can't do it better than me.
Hmm.
And my first thing to them was, you're wrong. AI is better than you. And then which was designed to like make them laugh a little bit and just, and then I explained and I said, why are you so good at caregiver matching? What are you looking at?
Yeah.
What's your process? What
Yep.
information do you need? And so I broke down what she says is just like, this is just, I'm good at this.
There's
But
a
not,
je ne sais quoi to it, right?
yeah, it's like you don't have some magic power. You're just following a process that you have in your brain that isn't written down. And so, like, then no one else can do it because you're not
Yep.
writing down this process. And so,
Yep.
if you literally create the process around the decisions that help you to do this, then it will do it for you, or AI can do it, or a team member could do it. And so, to me, it's like, this is how we have to think about AI. Everything needs to be an SOP.
Yeah.
Every single thing that you do.
Yep. Yeah, it's one of those things too of like, can you teach another person to do this? And there was some stuff that you can't, right? Like, AI is not going to be able to do brain surgery. Sure, right? Like
Not
brain
yet.
surgeons are doing some stuff, right? And you have like all of this like knowledge that you build up over time that gives you such good instincts, but it's like, okay, but like in a home care business, every function, whether that's recruiting or whether that's the sales and marketing piece, whether that's like the scheduling component, all of that you need to be able to teach somebody else how to do, or else your business is capped at your capacity, which is just not, it's not going to be more than a $1 or $2 million a year business. And that's like, if that's where you want to be, and like, man, I know some people who are in some lifestyle businesses where they've set up some good systems. They are happy at, 800 hours a week. They figured out how to make that work. Cool. All good. But most people I talk to have some ambitions of scaling and growing. And if nothing else, because the march of home care is towards you don't get to keep your clients forever. And so if nothing else, then to maintain, you got to have systems in place that will help you to scale as you lose clients. And, ideally you set up the same systems to be able to help you scale up. Man, client caregiver matching, it's got to be something that you can teach to somebody. And if you can teach it to somebody, a person, you can teach it to AI. And we're seeing familiarity, skills match, proximity, overtime tolerance. What are the kinds of incentives that we offer? What's the variable hourly pay rates that we might offer to somebody based on how urgent the call out is? Who do we know that if we call them and offer them a gas card, they're going to pick it up? All of that can be documented, can be communicated to an AI system. An AI system can learn that on its own. And we're seeing much better fits, especially for the reactive last minute fire put out stuff, that people are getting really good results without having to be embedded in the day to day.
Yeah, I'm curious. So, one, to learn more about how you guys are involved in that process and
Yeah.
what Zengage can do, but also what I'm curious, and maybe this is an idea for you that you may not already be doing, because this was something that I had talked to the same client with.
Yeah.
Was there was an element of like cooking, right? Talk about cooking. And
Yeah.
so what I had recommended to them is like, what's the scale of how good they are at cooking? Not can you cook or can't you cook?
Sure, it's not binary.
That doesn't give you any information,
Yeah.
like everyone's just going to say yes. So you need like at least a 1 to 10 potential ranking. And then what we also did, because they're Southern, is like there's a lot of certain Southern foods that people
Yep.
like. And so it's basically, all right, well then create a checkbox list on can you cook this food?
You know what, where my brain immediately goes is like onboarding we treat as like orientation we kind of treat as the onboarding. And then we wonder why like 90-day retention is poor. And I think that there's a lot of like, how do we get to know people at scale? Like when we bring people on, how do we collect information about them. And some of the best people, I think, with respect to caregivers that I know, get to know stuff like what's your favorite candy bar and what's your favorite soda, and they catalog that, and they make that part of their system to when they're out in the field, they bring like those little happies along so that they're able to get those out there. What would it look like to collect information like that? What's your favorite thing to cook? Do people say you're a good cook? What's something you'd like to learn to cook? And make that just kind of like a part of the get to know your caregivers, but also that has, downstream impacts on their ability to better match those people with clients who, we learn the client preferences. And that's hard to do at scale. And that's stuff that we've got to do some figuring on our end.
I bet you guys could do that so easily. You just set up a phone call that calls the caregiver, hey, we have a few questions to get to know you a little bit better, and then just goes through and asks them questions and just like gathers all the data.
I think that kind of stuff, like you just gotta set it up. But as we think about, what does the future look like for recruiting as an example? Like there are these bottlenecks that are big form fills that prevent people from getting into an ATS today. And so it's like you do the Indeed quick apply and then, oopsie, we're stuck. It's like, man, that is an excellent application for AI voice in the context of recruiting to be able to say, hey, Nick, got a couple of questions for you. Want to move you forward in the process and get you scheduled for an interview. Do you have, 10 minutes for a quick screener call? Okay. And then it's just like, do you have a driver's license? Do you have car insurance? Do you have, are you good with a background check? And, if we do a drug screen, you're cool with that? And like all the questions that are on the form fill, but that people don't like form fills and so they don't take the time to do. And then you're able to get more applicant throughput into the top of the funnel, get more of those people to interviews, get more of those people to hire. But it's just like, what are the little bottlenecks that prevent us from providing the speed that we need or the like level of high touch service that we need? I think there's a lot there.
Yeah, and that leads to another point. So I was talking with another one of my clients today, and we were talking about caregiver recruitment and different things that he can do, and we were kind of mapping out, some of the things that he's been doing. And, one of the things that I had asked him, because we were talking about caregivers having some additional support when they start a shift, right? So I was like, do you have anyone doing this? And he was like, well, not currently. And I said, do you have a scheduler? And he said, yes. And I said, is it a person in your office staff? I said, yes. And I said, that person is not going to have a job. There is software, like what you guys do, that can do the scheduling for them. And again, maybe there needs to be some oversight, but this wasn't me saying, go fire this person. It was saying, now you have this opportunity, this person, to go out and do touch points that make things so much better. And his kind of example that he brought up, he's like, if she wants to sit and like no person wants to like move schedules around. I like to think they would rather be taking soda or candy bars to a caregiver and a birthday card to a caregiver at their house, or, an anniversary for a client and delivering flowers and like doing these little things that right now home care agencies don't have the bandwidth to do because they haven't implemented these types of AI systems that can replace stuff that allow you to do so much more, that is just going to massively help your business, and it's going to make your business so much more fun and better because it's just so much more personal.
There's the old Zappos story of like they had like a record for the longest customer service call, and it was like 23 hours or something. Or I think about like Chewy does a really good job of like, they know your pet's birthday, and so they send you like a birthday card, and that's like or like we got we had to put a cat down, and we got like a condolence card from them, and so it's like those little touch points that they've figured out how to operationalize and have the bandwidth for. And it's that idea of like, how do you create a customer service experience that surprises and delights the people that you work with? And home care owners that I talk to are some of the most primed to surprise and delight, but they just don't have the bandwidth for it. And so I think like, what does the future of home care look like? The future of home care looks like your person today who's stuck at the desk and can't get out in the field because who knows if a missed clock in will happen or if a phone call will come through. That person should be able to just show up unannounced. There's some accountability that's really useful, but also be able to show up unannounced and surprise, like your caregivers, your clients should be excited to see folks from your office out in the field. And man, right now, especially as we're still fairly early in the AI adoption curve, like there are so many opportunities to use this as a competitive advantage. Your competitors should be wondering why you are able to be in the community 5 times as much as they are. And you get some secret sauce that feels like you have unlimited time, like more hours in the day than them. And it's because you can set yourself free from some of this like drudgery of dealing with applicants getting through the pipeline, dealing with compliance. There's expired driver's licenses in the system, dealing with missing clock-ins. We've got to make sure the billing is clean. Like all of that stuff today can be automated and can be done by AI. Obviously with some human oversight, obviously with some escalations because there's lots of edge cases, but the bulk of it can get your team like out in the community, seeing people face to face, and like that's home care, man.
Yeah, and one thing you brought up too is that, you mentioned automation. This isn't new. Automation has existed, yet there's so many home care agencies that aren't even using basic, simple automation. So let alone, AI. It's like, hey, let's just use some basic, simple automation within the business. Even to go even one step further is digitizing your business. Like when I hear somebody doing contracts that are physical, I'm like, what are we doing, people? Why is your contract not digital? Like it just, none of that makes sense to me. Like, all right, let's say, because this actually happened in a scenario, someone posted in a Facebook group and they were asking about DocuSign, and I said every single person should be using some type of online documentation, like contract signing system. And then somebody had replied that I know was like, well, I like to do things that work for me. And my reply was like, no, like I did it a lot more polite, but it was just, no, sorry, that's not how business works. You don't just get to do things because you like to do it that way. It's illogical. It's not going to help you grow. It's going to become a bottleneck in having to chase down contracts and scanning and everything. Like, are you going to get that 190-year-old client that needs a physical contract? Yes, fine. Do one, but the process should still be digital.
I agree. All right, what else are you going to talk about?
Well, I think there's this element too of just, I just had it. Well, everything should be, that's what I was going to say. Because you were talking about this and I wanted to build on this, is you were talking about getting out in the community and doing all these things. It's like, if you can do it on a computer, it can be done by AI. That's the world we're moving to. And so when you look at what your day looks like or how much time you're spending on a computer, it's like, that's going to be gone. Like, in home care, you have a great advantage. Like, this business is not going to be replaced by AI anytime soon.
Nope.
Like, so you want to use AI in every area of the business that isn't what can't be used by AI.
And people have different filters for what can be done by AI today. And honestly, I'm pretty supportive of that because like your brand and your culture and like who you are as a team and your values like do need to factor into how you're using AI in an authentic way for your business. I do think people maybe are like a little conservative into like what AI can do, but also just don't really have the, like what you just said of like 5 years from now, we will not be on computers. Like, and it's funny because like the analogy that I've heard that I think really makes a lot of sense to me is, back in the 90s, if you said to people, everything you do, you're not going to have software on your computer anymore. Everything you do is going to be browsing the web. That's going to be your entire job is browsing the web. People were like, what are you talking about? That's crazy. But where we are today is everything you do is browsing the web. Increasingly, and you see this with like people using like ChatGPT or whatever as their like search engine, is people are replacing browsing the web with leveraging AI technologies. Part of that's an indictment of Google and the way that like web search just sucks now, and like GDPR having like 1 million pop-ups when you come onto a website. Like there's certainly ways that we've kind of like degraded the experience of being online that makes it not super enjoyable. Maybe we make that better. But the reality is like AI is going to use your software. And so if you're using a CRM or you're using an EMR, whatever the case may be, within the next into 5 years, let's call it the next 2 months to 5 years, you will be interacting with all of those tools through AI, through connectors built into Claude. Like it is the wave of the future, and we probably seem like crazy people.
Well, we're already doing it. That's why, because what you're talking about, we're already doing. Like, I have Claude reviewing my calendar and looking at my Gmail and then composing an email and sending the email. I have it looking at my CRM. I have it, looking through transcripts through my call recorder. Like, I mean, that is the future, is like everything you're doing is just through your AI portal instead of having a million tabs open. Oh my God, I had a client say that today. Oh, sorry, I got so many tabs open. How many of you guys have so many tabs open? Yep, nope, gone, done tabs, just one. That's all you need.
Man. I want to switch gears a little bit. I have an answer to this that I can share first, but are there like limitations or quirks or bugs or like the AI word, the hallucinations that you're finding still that like you've kind of had to plan around?
So what I started doing that has helped is that I still find the memory one of the biggest issues when it comes to AI, and just like if you're having a long chat
Yeah.
with AI, then it's going to start forgetting stuff.
Yes.
And so what I've been doing is periodically I will be like, all right, wait, what do we got so far? Like, we've got some good juice here. Let me save this into Notion so that I can pull from it later.
Yes.
And so like I will consistently just kind of save stuff in the Notion so that I can pull from it later, because it just forgets. And I'm like, what? I literally just said this and now you're messing it up, and that gets very frustrating.
There's a couple of things. This is kind of like some nerd speak real quick, but there's a couple of things you're doing there, and you probably know that you're doing it, or maybe you don't. You're just doing this like organically. But there's two ideas in AI that are complicated. One is it's this idea of the context window. And then the other is this concept called retrieval augmented generation. So the context window is you're describing as like the AI will forget stuff as chats get too big or as like too many tokens get used. And the problem with the way the AI is built is it doesn't remember the most important stuff. Like we have like core memories where we're like, yeah, I remember like my earliest memory. This isn't sad. It sounds like it might be a little sad. But my earliest memory is I had like a bunch of ear surgeries as a kid, like tubes, they just kept falling on my ears. Like I just got weird ears. It's fine. None of this is like a sad, like, nobody was raising money for me. It was good. But my first memory is two things. Number one, they were like, here's some Sprite. And I took it and it was terrible because it was like local anesthetic or whatever, it's sleepy juice, whatever. They had put a little kid to bed. And then they were like, here's some, I'm just kidding. This one's really Sprite. And I took the second one and it really was Sprite, but I was like, what are we talking about here? I'm like, why did I trust them? Like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, won't get fooled again, George W. Bush. Anyways, and then I remember being in like a red radio flyer wagon being taken down the hospital doors, watching the lights overhead. Anyways, that's my first memory. Do you know off the top of your head your first memory? Don't make it more traumatic than my non-traumatic memory.
So it's very difficult because what I find the memory is it plays tricks on you.
Yeah.
And so like I have this memory that I don't know if it's true or if it's just something that somebody told me.
Sure.
But I remember I was in Disney World.
Cool.
And there was a rock show. It's like a Ninja Turtles rock show. And so they were all up on the stage. And I remember like being on my dad's shoulders for that rock show of the Ninja Turtles happening in Disney World.
I mean, that's a pretty good one. I like it. But anyways, I say that to say, we remember stuff that stands out for one reason or another. AI does not. It just has like a Play-Doh tube of like memory coming through it. And when you put more memory in at the top, it's like, you just drop that at the bottom and it's like your kids' names or whatever. And it just forgets stuff. So anyways, that's the problem with a context window is the AI is only able to remember this much of time. And it doesn't matter if what just happened, what it just like pushed out of its context window was like the thing you said, this is the most important thing in the world to remember. If it's not like stored in memory or stored somewhere else that it can access, it will fall out of the context window and it's like a whole thing. So but then number two is retrieval augmented generation, which is what you do to solve for the context window. And what you're doing is when a chat's been going on for a while, you put like the summary of it in Notion and then you start another chat, you're able to go grab that stuff from Notion and it's able to like hold that here as like top of mind. This is really important stuff for me to know. And then it's able to build on top of that. Another way to do that is if you don't want to like put it in Notion or whatever, is you can just say, hey, I want to refresh like a new chat. Can you summarize this in a prompt that I can use to start the next chat? And both of those like are not lossless, but you're going to get the most important stuff. You're not going to have to repeat yourself a whole lot. Anyways, those are a couple of
I have been doing that too.
Elements.
Yeah, I know. I love that. And I think it's a really good point because, at the end of the day, we have to learn these things and understand these principles. And I think what the core of what you shared comes down to one thing is like, I think it showcases the importance of developing skills because skills have that core memory saved and built in, as well as like the MD files that exist. And so I think no matter where you're at in your AI journey and listening to this is like the number one thing for, in my opinion, I'd be curious to hear, is like you need to go through and set up everything. You need to like people, and I did this like when I first got ChatGPT. Naturally, you just go on and you start talking to people, and most people only know chat. We're talking about Claude, and people are like, "What?" It's becoming more. People are jumping off, GPT and going over to Claude more and more.
Yeah.
But when I loved starting again in Claude because I was able to kind of start from the beginning and do it right. I mean, the amount of people that still have the default settings in whether it's Claude or ChatGPT. And the issue with AI in general is that it just tells you what you want to hear. And if you're not telling it to push back on certain things or to not tell you just what you want to hear, then it can potentially hurt you in the future because it is giving you information that is potentially incorrect and or not the greatest perspective. And so like being able to make sure that your AI has pushback, and I feel like Claude is better at this, even though I've updated ChatGPT and I still use it every once in a while, Claude will give me pushback so much more because one, I have trained it to do that, but two, it's just better at it where it's just, Nick, I'm going to push you back on this one because that's what you asked for. And I'm like, yes, I did. And it brings up such amazing points. And so this just again comes down to what I mentioned earlier. We have to understand the fundamentals. And when you better understand the fundamentals, it's going to make AI so much better, easier, less frustrating. Because I know there's people out there that are just getting so frustrated with AI and wondering why it's doing these things. And you did a beautiful job explaining the whole memory thing, because that's, I think, what people get most frustrated on.
Okay, let's do we can do kind of a quick, I'm going to run you through some different kind of like AI concepts. And I want you to like kind of one-liner them is kind of like if you didn't hear anything else on this and you don't know anything else about AI, here's the stuff that you should know. And I think like where people are coming from that this might be useful for is if this is you, if you use your AI, ChatGPT, Gemini, Grok, or Claude as primarily like a chatbot that you talk to, these are things that can take your AI to the next level. And we already talked about skills being a way that you can like kind of package up a set of steps or an SOP or something that you want the AI to do. So that's good. I hear a lot about connectors. Can you talk about what a connector is?
Connectors is very simple. It is you're connecting your AI tool to the softwares that you already are using. And what's amazing about Claude is that they have a ton already built out, which makes it super easy to connect. Whereas before you had to do like MCP, I think that's the acronym, that is a little bit more complex. So being able to that's one of the first steps I told one of my clients today is make sure that you connect your Claude to the tools that you are using.
That's good. And then tell me about like the co-work function and how that's different from the chat function.
Excellent. Yeah. So co-work allows you to basically do things when you're not in front of the screen. Whereas a chat is like ongoing, you're talking to it, where, I think the first thing I did in Claude Co-work that I think I've been loving this as an example is that I had it go through, I talked about one example earlier, but this is just something where it can actually do stuff for you. So it actually went into my downloads folder and organized everything into folders. And then I told it what was like stuff that I don't need that probably needs to get deleted first because it has the highest memory. And so then it had a folder that was like, delete this. And so it just like organized what I need to delete, when I need to delete it by in these folders in seconds. And then it happens again because I do screenshots and I'm downloading videos and stuff. And then now I just, hey, can you organize my downloads again? And it just organizes it.
One of my favorite skills that I have it do is we use Slack as our internal communications tool. And I'll be like, hey, can you go through and find all the stuff I said I'd do that I haven't or that it doesn't look like I've done?
That was my action item from this call. It's like, I need to set a daily process that comes like what Nick needs to do based on all of the calls. And what's cool about this process too is that when you're on these calls, you'll explicitly say like, okay, I need to do this, this, and this, knowing that the recording is going to catch it. So it's like, then you start to actually operate differently, knowing that you have the AI backing you up.
My favorite thing to do in Cowork is it's got a lot of ways that it can do this stuff. Like it can use your connectors to do work within your systems for you, and that's nice. But oftentimes there's not like a native connector built in. And so you can just tell Claude, well, just go use Google Chrome on my behalf. And it'll like suggest that. It'll be like, hey, I don't have like a native way to do this, but can I like go into your browser and do it? And it can take some time, but like you can be doing other stuff. And in the background, Claude is like doing projects inside of your like browser in your systems that are there that aren't natively connected that can save you a huge amount of time and headache. And you get to be, instead of the one doing the thing, you get to be the one like orchestrating the thing, and then having the AI like come back to you periodically, update you on the progress, and get feedback from you on how it's doing.
You made me think of a really important note around this is that people treat AI like it's this superhero that's going to come in and save the day for them and just be this like master of everything and, jack of all trades. And it's not. It is an employee, and employees need to be trained. And so I'm saying this for like the 5th time today. You need those SOPs. You need to train AI to do the things that you want to do. Also, this is another side note, because I don't want to forget about this. I'm curious what you use. My absolute favorite tool that I'm using, that I literally scream about to people, that is an absolute game changer, is WhisperFlow.
Tell me what WhisperFlow is.
So WhisperFlow, and there's other tools like WhisperFlow, but basically it allows you to talk into whatever tool you're using in the most seamless way. So let me explain. So a lot of times with like AI, Claude, if you like use the talk to text feature, sometimes it like forgets, or it doesn't hear you all the way, or it doesn't hear you very clearly, and it messes up, or you can only talk for like 30 seconds or a minute, maybe 3 minutes. When you start to get to longer lengths of time, it's more likely that it's going to get messed up and it's not going to work. And so the way that WhisperFlow works is all I have to do is hit my function key on my keyboard. I just hit function. Right now, if I just did it and I said, okay, I really want to tell David how awesome he is, how amazing his podcast is. This is the most incredible thing. And so what I want you to do is create an email or a message to David, how awesome he is. He's the incredible. All right, go. And now it's copied. Now I just go anywhere, right? I can go anywhere. I can paste that in to Claude, to ChatGPT, to email, to Slack, and you can just paste whatever you just recorded because it will clean it up. So it will clean up your message so that when you're putting into AI, it's a little bit more organized. So if you don't want to, even if you're not using it for AI and you're just sending an email, you can say, hey, David, I just wanted to tell you how awesome you are. And then it will remove all the ums from the transcription of what you're getting. If you're going to sign up for this, use my affiliate link, okay? If you're not already using it. But there's other ones. There's like Aquaflow or something, or Aqua something. Are you using any dictation tool?
No, I'm literally, you hear me clicking, I am downloading WhisperFlow right now. This is such a smart thing. There's like a speech to text function, but I use a different keyboard in front of me. My computer's like over there. But even when I click on like the like type to text, whatever, it's like so inconsistent for me. And so this has been, send me your affiliate link because I
think
owe you.
I did already. Did it?
I owe you good American dollars for this.
I don't even know what I get. I just know that I feel like there's something around, being able to. I'll
Venmo you $10 for changing my life right now.
So this was something. The way that I preface this too is that for me, like I was at a conference, and at the conference, these are a bunch of like big tech guys, and like every single one of them that knows way more about AI than me were like, oh my God, you have to use WhisperFlow. You have to use, these dictation tools. So, when you see that these people that have like 8-9 figure tech businesses are using this tool, guess what? you're going to download it right then and there while you're in Cabo, Mexico, and get it for a cheaper deal because you're in Mexico and it was less while you're in Cabo.
Well, I guess I got to go to Mexico about this.
I mean, still, I should note that it's like $10 a month. So like, or $8. It might even be $8. I think I got it for like $6 in Cabo or whatever, but it is way too cheap to not be using it. It works on your phone. It just doesn't work great on the phone. I do wish it worked a little better on the phone. I think it will soon. It just needs to, smooth things out with Apple and just like get more integrated. And I think it'll work better. But right now for desktop, there's nothing. It's the most incredible. I actually was on a plane using Claude and I hated it because I realized I had to type now.
Oh.
And I've gotten so accustomed to just every time I'm using AI, I'm talking into it. I like forget that I'm using Whisperflow. That's how amazing this tool is because it's so a part of how I use AI now. And just like everyone should be using it. Stop typing.
This is so exciting.
Stop typing.
I'm not doing like the best content right now. And that's probably because I do see purple bars while I speak. I do speak English. Does the button turn purple when you press it? Sure does. Wow. Give it a try.
Oh, yeah. Test it out.
Do I have to hold it, by the way?
Yes, you can hold it. Yeah.
Okay. I'm holding it right now. And I'm probably... I see it doing its thing. This is really exciting. Can you send Nick a message thanking him for telling me about Whisperflow and also telling him he did a good job on my podcast today? All right.
And then you just do, Control Command V.
Oh, this is so cool.
And it just
Control Command V. I think it probably just like stored to my...
It stores in Whisperflow. But basically all you have to do is then just paste it in.
Oh my gosh, this is so cool. Dude, man, this is high ROI activity. It's going to ask me for money probably. Oh my goodness, it's so exciting it formats it for you. This is like really bad content. This is terrible podcasting. I'm just so excited right now.
I think your excitement makes it good content because when people can hear and see our excitement around these tools, they know the magnitude of using these tools and how awesome it truly is.
Could not agree more. If you double tap the function button, it will I'm writing this email draft right now to see how it does with formatting and stuff. Whoa. Dude, this is cool.
Wait, double tap the function button? What is double tapping the function button?
Whisper a list. Lean in closer to the micro. I want to... If you hold, that's one thing, but if you double tap, it locks it on.
Gotcha.
I want to pick up a few things from the store, like a podcast microphone and an audio interface, and maybe a new guitar. All right, it didn't do a good job formatting that. That's okay. It's fine. Okay.
It does learn.
Wow.
It can learn names, if it's spelled wrong.
I could save 29 hours a week. 2 weeks trial. Sorry, I didn't use your referral link.
It's okay. You can send me $10.
This is super exciting, Nick. Nick, thank you so much for coming on my show. Hey, what do you want to plug? What do you want to talk about? What do you want people to talk about?
Yeah, no, I was gonna do a little plug, but because you're a vendor, you're a sponsor at our event, the Home Care Champions Experience.
Yes.
And so super grateful for that. And I love that, you mentioned ROI, that you've gotten a lot of value in coming as a vendor. And I think it comes down to one thing. The reason why you got so much value as a vendor is the same reason that a lot of attendees get value. And it's that it's unlike any other event in regards to connection. The goal is to build relationships with people. You're not just going to sit and just listen to session after session after session and barely have time to go to the bathroom. There is dedicated time to truly connect. We have meals that are served. Maybe you can give a little testimony of how good the food is because people seem to love the food at the event. Although you were there, well, your team can, I'm sure. But
my team told me the food was good, and they sent me pictures from sunny Southern California, and I was like, does seem like a cool place to hang out.
It's something different. It's something that I pride myself on. I know the impact of what events can have because I know what it's had on my own personal life, my own personal development, my business development. And so putting together something that I know home care agencies will get a lot of value in connecting with other owners, learning from each other and supporting one another. And there's not really a price tag on connection. content you can get in a lot of places. You can get AI, you can get courses, you can get information, but connection happens in real life.
Perfect, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show today. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me.
On behalf of the team here at Zengage, thanks for listening to the show. We'll be back next week with another episode, so be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts on Spotify or Apple or YouTube. Leave us a rating while you're there. It helps other people find the show. If you have comments on the show, drop me a line, david@zengage.com. Would love to hear from you, chat with you there.